Have you ever felt like life is happening to you, like you're just reacting, scrambling to keep up, while others seem to move with power and purpose? What if I told you that the difference between feeling like a pawn and thinking like a king isn't about status or luck, but psychology? Carl Jung, the legendary psychoanalyst, uncovered a hidden truth. The most powerful people in history, the ones who shaped the world, all shared a specific mindset. They didn't just have power, they thought like kings. And the good news? This isn't reserved for royalty. It's a psychological framework anyone can learn. Let me ask you this. When faced with a challenge, do you shrink or do you rise? Most of us react instinctively, driven by fear or self-doubt. But Jung revealed that true power comes from mastering the inner kingdom, your mind. Imagine this. You're in a meeting, and someone dismisses your idea. The old you might retreat, overthink, or even apologize. But the version of you who thinks like a king? They pause. They don't take the insult personally because they know their worth isn't up for debate. They respond with calm authority, not because they're entitled, but because they've done the inner work to know their power. That's the secret. Kings don't beg for respect. They command it by how they carry themselves, not through force, but through unshakable self-awareness. And Jung's theory gives us the blueprint. So if you're ready to stop reacting and start ruling your life with purpose, keep watching. Because in the next few minutes, we're diving deep into the psychology of the king and how you can apply it to your life, starting today. Now let's break this down. Think of the last time you felt powerless. Maybe a conflict at work, a family disagreement, or even just a day where everything went wrong. How did you respond? Most people default to one of two extremes. They either lash out, the tyrant, or collapse inward, the servant. But the king? They operate from a third space, sovereignty. Jung called this the process of individuation, where you integrate all parts of yourself, the light and the shadow, to act from wholeness, not fear. Here's the key. Kings don't avoid battles, they choose them wisely. They don't seek validation, they validate themselves. And most importantly, they don't rule over others, they rule themselves. So how do you get there? Let's map it out. Over the next few minutes, we'll explore 3 pillars of the king's mindset, straight from Jung's teachings: authority, knowing your power; purpose, aligning with your destiny; and grace, leading without tyranny. By the end, you'll have practical tools to embody this energy in your own life. So what does it really mean to think like a king, not as an ego trip, but as a psychological shift? Jung's work reveals that true sovereignty starts with integrating your shadow, the parts of yourself you've disowned, repressed, or deemed unacceptable. Because here's the truth: a king who denies his shadow becomes a tyrant. A king who masters it, that's where real power lies. Let's break down the 3 pillars. 1. Authority, the crown within. Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Most people give away their authority without realizing it, seeking permission, people-pleasing, or crumbling under criticism. But the king's mindset flips this. Authority isn't about controlling others, it's about reclaiming your inner throne. How? By facing the exiled parts of yourself, the insecurities, the past failures, the voices that whisper, you're not enough. When you stop outsourcing your worth, you stop bowing to external validation. 2. Purpose, the king's destiny. Kings don't chase, they're called. Jung called this individuation, the lifelong journey of aligning with your authentic self. Think of King Arthur pulling the sword from the stone. The power wasn't in the blade, it was in his recognition of his own right to wield it. Purpose isn't something you invent, it's something you uncover. Ask yourself, what mission would I pursue if no one were watching? That's your Excalibur. 3. Grace, the art of ruling without force. Here's where most get it wrong. Power isn't a hammer, it's a compass. Jung warned that unintegrated power turns toxic. Think of rulers who start as liberators and end as dictators. True kings lead with grace because they've tamed their inner chaos. They don't suppress emotions, they channel them. Anger becomes boundaries. Fear becomes discernment. Vulnerability becomes connection. Now let's make this real. Imagine a woman, let's call her Sarah, midlife, overlooked at work, feeling invisible in her own life. She's stuck in the servant mindset, overgiving, underasking, resentful but passive. Then she discovers Jung's king archetype. She starts small. She stops apologizing for existing. She claims her expertise in meetings. She sets boundaries with her time. At first, it feels unnatural, like wearing a crown that's not hers. But with practice, her posture changes. Her voice steadies. People feel the shift before she even speaks. Why? Because sovereignty isn't about titles. It's about energy. And energy is contagious. Let me tell you about Sarah, because her story might feel familiar. For years, she played by the rules, the reliable employee, the accommodating friend, the woman who always put others first. But deep down, she felt like a ghost in her own life, present but unseen, competent but never chosen. Then, during a therapy session, her counselor asked a Jungian question that changed everything. Who would you be if you weren't afraid of your own power? At first, Sarah laughed. Power? She didn't feel powerful. She felt exhausted. But then she recalled a moment at work. Her idea, dismissed in a meeting, was later praised when a male colleague presented it as his own. Instead of speaking up, she'd swallowed her anger, telling herself, don't make waves. That's when she realized she wasn't just avoiding conflict, she was abdicating her throne. So she began experimenting with the king's mindset. Small acts, big shifts. Silence as strategy. Instead of rushing to fill pauses in conversations, she let them linger. People leaned in. The no revolution. She declined a family guilt trip gathering for the first time. The world didn't end. Ownership rituals. Before important calls, she'd place a hand on her chest and whisper, I reign here. Within months, her boss mentioned her new presence. Colleagues asked for her input unprompted. But the real transformation? She stopped waiting for permission to exist fully. Now, how can you start ruling your inner kingdom? Here's your actionable playbook. 1. Reclaim your symbols, the crown exercise. Kings wear crowns not because they're decorative, but because they're declarations. Find a physical object, a ring, a scarf, even a screensaver, that symbolizes sovereignty to you. Use it as a tactile reminder, I am the authority here. 2. Shadow court sessions. Jung taught that the shadow holds stolen power. Each week, ask, when did I shrink this week? What emotion did I suppress? How can I reclaim that energy? Example, if you bit back criticism to keep peace, write the unfiltered version in a journal. 3. The Edict of Boundaries. Kings don't negotiate core values. Draft a royal decree of non-negotiables, e.g., I no longer justify my decisions to those who don't fund my life. Post it where you'll see it daily. 4. Purpose mapping. Channel Jung's individuation. Draw 3 concentric circles. Label them. Inner ring, what I'm naturally gifted at. Middle ring, what the world needs from me. Outer ring, what I've been afraid to claim. Where they overlap, that's your kingdom's borders. 5. Grace under fire. When provoked, kings ask, does this deserve my energy? Practice the 10-second rule. Before reacting, pause for 10 seconds to consult your inner counsel, logic, intuition, values. For Sarah, these steps weren't overnight fixes, they were rebellions against a lifetime of conditioning. But with each act of sovereignty, her inner kingdom grew stronger. Yours can too. Here's a powerful Jungian ritual to seal this transformation. Tonight, before bed, light a candle and speak this declaration aloud. I am sovereign of my mind, my choices, and my life. I reclaim all power I've given away through doubt, apology, or fear. From this moment forward, I rule with purpose, act with authority, and lead with grace, because the throne was always mine to take. Then blow out the candle and watch how your subconscious begins aligning with this truth. The psychology of the king isn't about dominating others, it's about ending the civil war within yourself. When you stop kneeling to fear, the world stops expecting you to. Jung gave us the map, but you must take the first step. So tell me in the comments, which of the 3 pillars, authority, purpose, or grace, do you most need to strengthen right now? Let's create a council of modern-day kings and queens in this community.